Have you ever faced a situation that felt completely out of your control and you thought, if only this person would change, or if these circumstances were just different? If you have, then this episode is for you. I'm going to show you the magic in the coaching tools that will help you renew your mind. Hi, friends. Welcome to Taking Back Happy. I'm your host, Gina Granville. God's girl, retired homeschool mom of 4, empty nester, Gigi, essential oil and exercise enthusiast, Christian life coach, and someone who's taken back her own happy. I know many of you feel exactly like me in these midlife years, a sort of loss of direction, but way too young and vibrant to sit on the porch and just watch life go by. What if you could reimagine your life, finding deep joy, renewed passion and purpose, and plenty of adventure in these midlife years? If you're ready to rediscover God's joy and purpose in this season of life, throw on those walking shoes, pop in those earbuds, and join me right here as we take back happy together. Hi, and welcome back to Taking Back Happy. So many of you know that I'm a life coach. I got my basic certification last year, and I just got my master certification this year. So I'm pretty excited to share some of the things I'm going to share with you today. We're going to examine facts versus thoughts. Like, what's the difference between facts and thoughts? We'll discover how when you change your thoughts, you can literally change your life. And we'll look at how we can reframe our real life, our life that we have today. So let's dive right in. When I first started learning all these things, I really had such a hard time differentiating between facts and between thoughts. A lot of times I would say something straight out like it was an absolute fact, and then someone would kind of call me on it and they're like, yeah, well, that's not necessarily a fact. That's actually a thought that you have about something. So facts are actually very neutral, and our thoughts are usually what we make that fact mean. I'll give you a quick example. So your husband doesn't text you back for 6 hours, or your son, whoever, a friend, you can put whoever in that blank, but they don't text you back for 6 hours after you text them. That is the fact. Now, this is where our thoughts come in. Our thoughts can go anywhere at that point, but a lot of times we would think, oh my goodness, that person must be mad at me. Instead of thinking, oh, they're probably just busy, they'll text me back later. We go to the worst case scenario. Yep, they're mad at me. I said something wrong. I did something wrong. And our mind just gets carried away with that. This is where life coaching comes in. It's looking at the interpretation and helping us decide how we want to view that thing. Do we want to view it in a negative light? Do we want to view it in a positive light? Our brain is really good at going to the negative. But just because something is true doesn't mean the way we're thinking about it is actually helpful or beneficial to our lives. So sometimes it's good to just revamp that thought and look at it with a different set of eyes. If you came to me and you said, I texted my grown son this morning and it's nighttime and I still haven't heard anything from him, my first question to you is going to be, what story are you telling yourself about this situation? That's a really good question for us to ask, and that could go with any thought that we have. What story are we telling ourselves? What are we making that mean? Are we making that mean that our son doesn't love us anymore? Are we making it mean he doesn't have time for us? What are we making it mean? You might be thinking, oh, that is just life coach talk. That is not practical. That is not something I need in my life. But 2 Corinthians 10:5 reminds us to take our thoughts captive. And when I think of taking our thoughts captive, I would say that means we can question what we're thinking and we can choose what we want to think, because we want to take those negative thoughts, those thoughts that aren't helping us, those thoughts that aren't promoting peace in our lives and the lives of others. We want to take those captive and choose thoughts that are going to be better for us, more beneficial. As far as our circumstances go and our relationships, we really don't have a lot of control over that. And if you think about it, Jesus didn't promise us easy circumstances. He promised us peace that comes on the inside when we walk through those circumstances. So, how can changing our thoughts literally change our life? Let's think about that for a minute. If you think about it, our feelings come from our thoughts. They don't really come from our circumstances. A lot of times we think, well, if I just had a better job, I wouldn't feel that way. If I just had a spouse that would help me, I wouldn't feel this way. If I just had more acknowledgement or more approval, I wouldn't be so insecure. Let me walk you through this coaching scenario. So there's a circumstance, and we have a certain thought about it. That thought brings on a feeling, and after we have that feeling, we take a certain action. It's always the same scenario. We think something, then we feel something, and then we take an action. I'll give you an example. You have a teen daughter, and she rolls her eyes and she walks away. Well, my first thought is, she's disrespectful and she doesn't even care. After that, I start feeling hurt. I feel defensive. I feel like she doesn't appreciate me. Those feelings go on. And then my action is to argue with her or even distance myself from her, which actually results in a disconnection between the two of us. But what if I chose a different thought? What if I thought she's really overwhelmed and she doesn't really have tools to express herself at this point? I'm going to have a totally different feeling if I have that totally different thought. I'm going to be more compassionate. I'm going to be more understanding. The action I take is I'm going to stay calm this time. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And the result is going to be a better connection with her, right? She's going to say, wow, my mom really cares. We have the exact same circumstance, a completely different thought, a completely different emotional response, and then a completely different action and a completely different result, all the above. I have a job I really do enjoy. I enjoy working with people. I feel like I make a positive difference. It's at a medical facility, but I really can help people have peace while they're having this test done and joy, even though it could be a really scary thing. However, it has a lot of frustrations that come along with it too. One of the things that really, really frustrates me is that if we don't have enough patients, coming in our facility that day, they just cut our hours. So we're expecting to make, this much money for the week. And all of a sudden they're like, well, we don't have enough patients. So you guys are just not going to be working. And we don't make what we expected to come in. I've spent a lot of hours feeling frustrated. And then that frustration turns to anger. And then that anger turns to just I don't even know what. But the point is not necessarily what's happening. I mean, it is a circumstance I don't like. And, I get to decide what I want to do about that. Maybe I want to stay there. Maybe I want to move on to a different job, who knows? But the point is, underneath all that frustration and anger, there's a thought that's causing that. And I started investigating. I was like, what is it that makes me so, frustrated about this? Well, it's the thought that I feel disrespected. I feel like they disrespect me. I feel like they disrespect my time. And I also feel like they're not keeping their word. If I was hired for full time, then I expect to be full time. And so I kind of feel unappreciated. So those thoughts right there, they disrespect me or I'm not being appreciated. Those are things that fuel the fire and they're not helpful. They don't change the situation. There's a lot of things I could do a lot differently that would be helpful and would be beneficial, but thinking those thoughts are not one of them. If I would evaluate from a place of for me, for you, for us, and then just go in and have a talk with the boss, maybe we would come out with a good solution, something that would work for all of us. Who knows? But keeping those thoughts, are not helpful. When I dug a little deeper, I think there was even a more ominous thought under there. And that thought was, I feel stuck. I'm stuck in this circumstance. I can't change anything. I felt powerless to do anything. And that's just not true because I still have all the choices. I have the choice to work there. I have the choice not to work there. I have the choice to seek something else. There's a lot of choices I have. I come from that kind of victimhood state where I'm like, oh, they don't appreciate me. Ooh, this or that. Then it keeps me in a place of lacking personal power as opposed to being proactive and trying to find a good solution. To apply that to your own life, take one thing that's really bothering you right now and ask yourself, what am I making this mean? And then ask yourself again, what else could be true? It'll kind of open things up and show you all the possibilities. Let's talk about reframing in real life. A lot of times we just want to get to the good stuff, right? At least I do. I want to jump from those negative thoughts, those thoughts that are causing me to have emotions that I really don't want to feel. And I want to just like immediately grab a better thought and just like, oh, Pollyanna, everything's fine, and just ignore my real circumstances. But really, that's not any better because you're just pretending. You're just being fake. You're not being real to yourself. What if we could validate our reality without giving it power over our emotions? That's where the reframe comes in. It doesn't mean you're denying your reality or your circumstances. It means that you're literally taking back your life. You're taking back your happy, as we like to say. Here is an example. In midlife, a lot of times we say, I'm too old to start over. But what if we just changed that thought slightly? And we didn't deny it. We didn't deny how we felt. But what if we said, I have more wisdom and I have more clarity than I've ever had. So why not start over? Another thought that's common to midlife women and empty nesters is, my adult kids don't need me anymore. And what if we just reframe that a little bit? What if we said, I'm learning how to love them in this new season of life, or I'm learning to get to know them better as an adult. Personally, I like when we add the ing because it's not like we've already accomplished the thing. It's not like we're so good at this that we already have it all together. But we could say, I am pursuing a relationship with my adult kids. I am growing and opening myself up to new things. I use this a lot when it comes to health and wellness too, because a lot of times I'm like, I just want to lose 5 pounds. And like, that's my goal. I want to lose 5 pounds. Well, if that is the end of the sentence, you leave yourself 2 options. 1, you celebrate when you lose that weight, or 2, you beat yourself up because you didn't lose that weight. But what if we just reframe just a little bit? What if we change that thought just slightly and we said, I'm making choices that are going to help me lose 5 pounds? That's not saying we already did it. That's not saying if we do it, we're good. If we don't do it, we're bad. That's saying we are making the choices. It's an active decision, something that we could celebrate every day when we make a positive choice, when we make a choice that really leads us toward that. One of my favorite reframes is, this is happening, ... whatever this is, and I still get to choose how I show up. Romans 12:2 reminds us that the transformation comes with the renewing of our mind. And if we think about a renewal, it's just a new way of looking at things, a new way of perceiving, not just believing. So my question for you today is, are you creating the life you really want? Are the thoughts that you're thinking helping you have the emotional response or the emotions that you want that will cause you to take the actions that you really want to take? Or is it working against you in just the opposite manner? I want to leave you with one thought. And this is something I say all the time and I love to say, is you get to decide. You are not powerless. Your mind is a very powerful tool that God gave you. If this episode has perked your interest and inspired you, then I would encourage you to hit me up. Let's talk about life coaching. Maybe it's something that's for you. Join my Taking Back Happy Facebook group or just message me directly. I'd love to talk to you and tell you some different options. And remember, you don't have to wait for your life to change to feel peace, joy, connection, all the things that you really desire. You can take your thoughts back today. And that's just another step toward taking back our happy together. If this podcast blessed and encouraged you today, I'd love for you to share it with your friends. You can take a screenshot and share it in your stories, But make sure you tag me at Gina Granville so we can connect. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you join my Taking Back Happy Facebook group. I'll meet you back here soon, and we'll continue taking back happy together.